What if you could tap into the same process that some of the biggest channels on YouTube use to generate thousands to millions of views? After researching some of these videos, I found that the channels did the best had three common elements together. I decided to commit to a system by reverse engineering how these channels were able to get so many views so we can implement this system too. So you could not only generate more views, but also be able to generate leads for your business and use YouTube as a place to grow your business. And I'm going to share it with you. I noticed that every successful video had a really specific structure to it. And number one, they tell stories. And these stories are really powerful because it allows the viewer to connect with you or the creator, which increases the know, like, and trust factor. But they went a step beyond. They were able to weave in teaching while telling stories, or they would teach a principle after the story. And this is really powerful because you can build more credibility and authority with your audience by demonstrating what it is you can do for them. And then the best videos would create a sense of FOMO, a fear of missing out. And they did this by planting little Easter eggs that would leave this open loop, and it would increase retention, engagement, and overall help your video grow because people continue to watch it. Being able to use framework is very powerful. I would watch video after video. I would dissect story after story. I was trying to figure out how you explain a story. Think about films like Fast and the Furious. It's always the same story. After doing some crazy successful mission, somebody from the past comes to jeopardize their way of life, of living peacefully. The team comes together for another mission, and in the end, we're typically left on another cliffhanger for another Fast and Furious. The funny part is we're still gonna watch it, or most of us at least. For YouTube videos, we don't have the luxury of creating a feature film or a TV show. The news is our audience typically isn't going to YouTube to watch a feature film. They're going to YouTube to find an answer from something, or learn something, or sometimes even be entertained. As I started looking at more of these videos from the best channels, I noticed a pattern. Aside from being able to hook people in, when they would get into the content, two powerful things happened. They would either tell stories and teach, or they would teach like they were telling a story. And then I would notice every once in a while, something would keep me on the edge of my seat. That would make me want to finish the video. As humans, we kind of have this love-hate relationship with cliffhangers because we want that payoff. So make sure when you use this is kind of like a secret weapon. But before we do it, we first have to understand the fundamentals of a story to be able to use it in the first place. Recently, I took my daughter, Charlotte and Chloe, to this place called the Crayola Experience right before Christmas. And my youngest, Chloe, who's about 20 months, just darted towards this place. And it kind of reminded me of a rock wall, but instead of being super high, it had about like 7 to 10 pegs high, and then it was like 20 to 30 pegs across. Instead of climbing, you would take these pegs and you would place them in, and they would light up. Now, the Crayola Experience, as you can imagine, smells a heck of a lot like crayons, and they have all these crafting things kids can choose from. I see Chloe, my youngest, start to try to figure out how to actually put these pegs in a hole. And I just taught her this head, shoulders, knees, and toes song, and she has it down. I thought this would be a good time to create a challenge for her and I decided that I was going to try to teach Chloe how to take the pegs and make a straight line from point A, point B, and to point C. She's starting to learn words, so I had faith that we could do this together. And what's interesting about this story is as I was doing it, I thought this story would probably be a good story to explain how stories work and how you could use the same framework to actually teach as well. And the reason why is, think about a story. You have the beginning, the middle, and the end. Same thing when you're teaching something too. You have the beginning, the situation, the problem, and then how you fix the problem towards the end. And as I'm getting ready to do this with my daughter, I'm kneeling down and I'm explaining and telling her what to do, and then I go to show her and I put the first one in, and then I guide her to do the second one, and she starts doing it, they start lighting up, and we start to make some momentum. And then something happens, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't see this coming. We are out of pegs. Now things start happening, my OCD is kicking in. I started this, I gotta finish it now, and we're looking around, we cannot find any pegs. So we start looking around, trying to find other pegs, and we're coming up short. I come to the conclusion that we may not be able to finish this. When you're telling a story, what makes a story is a combination of the people, places, purpose, and the plot. These elements are known as the 4 Ps. The people and places provide the context so you can understand the plot when introduced at the beginning, the middle, or the end. The people and places provide the context to understanding the plot when introduced to the beginning, the middle, and the end. However, there's still one ingredient you need to create a story, and that is conflict. Conflict is what makes tension, which brings us right into the tension of the story. Unfortunately, we cannot find pegs. After a few minutes of looking around, then I don't know how, I turn around, my daughter all of a sudden has a stash pile of pegs. So we continue and we finally reach the middle. Everything's going great, and then I smell this. I can't tell if it's crayon or if my daughter went number 2. And this isn't one of those smells that you can ignore. So I make sure that it's not like nuclear, and it's not, as we start moving from the middle to the end, instead of putting them in a straight line, my daughter starts just putting them higher and then lower and then randomly at different spots all the way to the end. And she looks at me as she does this, and she kind of giggles because I keep trying to get her to stay in a straight line, but she doesn't care. And why would she? She's a baby. And as she's doing this, I have my second aha moment. And it's funny because it's a lot like the people, the places, the plot, and the purpose. All throughout your story, from the beginning, the middle, till the end, you're going to be putting the people, the places, and the plot all over the timeline. Now, imagine that you have the people, the places, the purpose, and the plot from top to bottom, and then the start, the middle, and the end from left to right. As you're going through your story, you're adding people, you're talking about places, you're adding conflict, and then you pay it off. The story starts to develop and come to life. And the best creators on YouTube use this process, and it's going to get easier the more you practice it. Being able to teach your audience is one of the most powerful ways you're able to build trust and credibility with them. That's why I like using a framework. It's something that we can use and repeat and get better at it. Make sure that we don't ramble on, and to make sure that we get to the point that our audience finds value from. Just like telling stories, we start with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the same thing goes for teaching. But instead of using the people, the places, the plot, and the purpose, we do something else. And the problem really starts when we do too much of the wrong thing at the wrong time. Number 1, don't give enough context as to what we're teaching in the first place. Number 2, we don't show why it's important, or we did a poor job explaining the why it's important in the first place. And number 3, we don't give enough what to do or how to do it. We have to be able to balance this all out evenly. And just like storytelling, you have the beginning, the middle, and the end. But instead of using the 4 Ps, I switch this out for who is it for, what's the concept and how do you do it, why does it matter, what's the problem, and how do you do it. Let's look at some examples. In the beginning, we have who's it for. We have what's the concept, and then we have why does it matter. I like to add a why does it matter at the beginning and middle and the end to reinforce the importance of whatever it is you're covering. Then as we get into the middle, we uncover what is the problem, and then going back into why does it matter. And at the end, we show what to do and how to do it, along with a why does it matter again. Now, this is not something that I just made up. These are common elements I found in the best YouTube videos. Now, although I did create this process, these are all principles out of the best educational YouTube videos that I found over the last 90 days. And I want you to know this so you can actually use the process for yourself in your channel. By using this process, it's going to give your audience more clarity. It's going to help you create videos faster. It's going to help you get to the point. And overall, I really think it's going to help the growth of your channel. By using this and practicing it, you're going to be able to give your audience the clarity not only you need, but they need too. By combining story frameworks with teaching, you're going to be able to build enough value and give them enough of what they want so they keep coming back for more. But there's one other thing we can do to massively increase your retention if we do it right. These are known as curiosity gaps or Easter eggs or open loops, and they happen all the time. Now, just like you introduce conflict in the story, I've seen some of the best YouTube videos introduce curiosity gaps or open loops at the very beginning of a video. And this could also happen as you go deeper and deeper into your video. This creates a sense of FOMO, a fear of missing out. And that's how they get you hooked. And the way it's implemented is by introducing something or showing you something and not giving you the closure you need right away. Movies and soap operas do this all the time. I mean, think of part 2 of Yellowstone. They always leave you on a cliffhanger. It almost happens on every episode, or a commercial break. And if you can add this to your content, the upside is huge, but you just don't want to overuse it or use it if it doesn't feel natural. The best advice I can give is it can really help your channel, especially when it comes to increasing retention and getting people to view and getting people to continue to watch, but it's not something that you want to overuse. One of the major problems when it comes to creating our videos and getting that retention is a lack of context, overfluffed content, and not enough what and how. And we talked about how we can help overcome all those things. This is where open loops can help bridge the gap. And this is where these Easter eggs and open loops or curiosity gaps, whatever you want to call them, can help. Now, they're not going to do you any good if you don't have good content, if you don't take time to explain and give the right context and show why it's important. But if you do, these open loops are going to work great. All you have to do is introduce something that is related to you, how you can put all 3 of these together to work harmoniously so people actually watch your entire video. That's an example to keep people engaged in your channel the entire time so that they don't leave early. I'm going to give you the example of an open loop or Easter egg right now. Being able to tell stories and teach on your YouTube channel will no doubt have a huge positive effect on your business. And the truth is, all of this is for nothing unless we can actually monetize the attention that we get. I made a video on the exact process I use to generate leads from YouTube before I even got to 100 subscribers. And I'm going to give you the exact funnel that I use so you could use it too. Look for a video around here or one in the description.